Hi everybody and welcome back to the Half-Ass Homestead. My name is Angie and today we are going to be canning chickpeas. For today, I am going to can chickpeas two separate ways. I am going to can just chickpeas so I can choose to do with them what I wish later. Either, doing chickpeas on a salad or making a different flavor of hummus. So I'm going to leave most of the jars up to debate. I am going to try a hummus recipe that I got from the Thrifty Chic Housewife, which the recipe calls for 3 cloves of garlic per pint. I have gone ahead and peeled the garlic already. It calls for 1/4 cup of lemon juice, so I'm going to go ahead and put in like 2 or 3 tablespoons. She says that the 1/4 cup seems like a lot, and I kind of feel like it might be. So I'm just going to put in 2 or 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. It's not required for this. If you are canning chickpeas, it's 75 minutes regardless. This is just for flavor. Sometimes it is used for an acidifier, but we don't need that today. Because obviously we are pressure canning the chickpeas. You have to pressure can chickpeas. I have also toasted up enough sesame seeds for a 1/4 cup for each jar. Today I am canning with Tatler lids and 1 reused lid. I've got those soaking in, I'm going to have to replace it with hotter water, but those were soaking in hot water. It's cooled a little bit more than I'd like. I have prepared the garbanzo beans with the long soak method. I have canned with the short, like the quick soak method. I just don't prefer it. I feel like it's a lot more screwing around, like when I could have just put water on them and soaked them overnight and then boiled, refreshed the water and boiled for 30 minutes. So I like the long soak method. You do you, boo. I don't recommend doing the no soak method. It's not approved. If that's what you're comfortable doing, I'm not telling you either way what you should do in your kitchen. I'm doing me. So I'm staying in my lane, you stay in yours. So I'm going to come back when these are done with their 30 minutes of boiling. It looks like I have about 5 minutes remaining. This water is already up to a boil, which I can shut that off now. That's to fill my jars with later. I'm going to get my canner all set up and ready to rock and roll. And I will see you back when I'm ready to fill some jars. Alright, the chickpeas have boiled for 30 minutes. I am going to drain these. Perfect. Alright. So now we have drained chickpeas and some fresh, hot, clean boiling water. My jars are being kept hot in the hot water over here in the sink. And I'm going to bring it in closer and let's fill some jars. Alright, the jars have been kept warm in the sink over here. What I'm going to do is start filling these. I am going to be filling them with the ingredients for the instant hummus. 1/4 cup toasted sesame seed, 3 cloves of garlic, 2 to 3 tablespoons of lemon juice is what I'm using. Now we are going to fill the container with chickpeas. I'm going to go just a smidge under a 1/2 inch, or a smidge under an inch, I'm sorry. We're going to proceed to fill these jars to 1 inch of headspace. And bubble. Adjust if needed. I'll wipe the jar with white vinegar. So to use the Tatlers, it's a 2-piece lid. Want to line up your gasket and your lid nicely. And tighten the lid with your finger resting, tighten the band with your finger resting on the lid. It's important to note that we're going to have to tighten these down just a little bit more when they do come out of the canner with special instructions. And for the regular chickpeas, we are also going to fill those just the same. You're going to fill to 1 inch headspace, debubble, adjust if necessary. Fill them just the same as you would with the sesame seeds, only it's going to be slightly more peas because you're taking up less room in the jar. So I will see back when I have all these full and in the canner. Alrighty, the jars are in the canner. I am going to go ahead and add about 2 tablespoons of vinegar to keep the cloudiness off my jars and mineral deposits. I'm going to on my lid. Okay, so I am going to do some dishes and wait for this bad boy to start venting. It shouldn't be too long because everything went in hot. So I'm going to wait for this to vent and then I will see back. Okay, so what we are looking for when venting is 6 to 8 inch, like an 8-inch stream of steam coming out the top, which I hope you can see right here, without it, petering out to nothing. So what we do when we see that, we set our timer for 10 minutes. Okay, so I have my weight here. It's been 10 minutes. I have 10 pounds weight. I am below 1,000 feet above sea level. We are going to wait for our canner to seal up and come to pressure. Then we're going to start our timer, which is 75 minutes for pints and 90 minutes for quarts. I will see you back when we come to start our timer. So my weight is slowly rocking. My temperature is, it's getting late. My timer is set for 75 minutes because I am canning pints today. I am going to go ahead and do some chores about the house while this is canning, and where I'm keeping an earshot so I can hear what's going on with my canner, and I'm only going to be a room or 2 away and not for very long. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of folding laundry, a little bit of sweeping, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So I will see you guys back in 75 minutes. Alrighty, processing time has just ended. I've shut my heat off. Now you're going to wait for the pressure canner to come back down to 0. This is your 0 pressure indicator, as well as the dial. I actually have a weighted gauge, so my dial is basically irrelevant. So I put a weighted gauge on it. So when this comes back down to 0, and my canner unlocks because there's also a locking mechanism in the handle, I'm going to be able to then open up my canner, but I'm just going to crack the lid and leave that sit for 10 minutes. Then I'll be able to take everything out. The reason we do that, now I was perusing canning videos of random, not really Homestead canners. She's very popular, and I quote, "Yeah, when the canner is done, I just take the weight off and it goes psh," which, okay, so basically, ow, that's hot. So basically, what she's doing is just rushing it back down to 0. She's not letting it sit. This is going to take 45 minutes to an hour. These Presto canners just seem to leak a little bit of air. My Miro will take 1.5 to 2 hours to come back down to 0 pressure. But the Presto canners seem to go a little bit quicker, a lot of it quicker, like twice as fast. At any rate, so the reason you don't want to rush bringing your pressure cooker back down to 0 is because it's going to drop your pressure rapidly, which is going to cause siphoning, and you don't really want that. I see it a lot on canning groups with extreme siphoning. Either like with siphoning, like your headspace wasn't accurate, or you rushed the pressure down to 0. So like if you don't have a pressure gauge, like my Miro canners don't have a pressure switch on them. If you think you're down to 0, you can lift up your dial a little bit, and if you hear a hissing sound, put it back down. It ain't done yet. So that's how on the Miro canners that you know you're at 0. Because they don't have a dial or anything like that. Like this has a dial, it's relatively accurate, and a 0 pressure switch, and a switch in the handle, so you know when you're at 0 pressure. So that really does help for beginners. So like I guess these Presto canners aren't all that bad. I do kind of like, depending if I'm going, sometimes I prefer the sound of the Miro if I'm going to do things a little bit farther away, because this one's pretty hard to hear more than a room or 2 away. I was just in the next room working on some projects. But I mean, other than that, I guess I've kind of babbled enough with instructions. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below, because I'm happy to answer questions. I'm not going to give any advice on rebel canning or anything like that, but I will give some advice to, you know, what I know. I mean, I'm not a professional canner, but I do have a good amount of knowledge on pressure canning and water bath canning as well. So I do have a pretty good knowledge base. So if you guys want to ask any questions, let me know. And if I can't give you a correct answer, there is always the Blue Book, Ball Blue Book, and some other trusted literature from some trusted sources that I'd be happy to share with you as well. So I'll see you guys back when this reaches 0 pressure. Finally came down to 0 pressure. My switch has gone down. Means I can take this guy off and open up my canner. I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes, and I'm going to come back in 10 minutes, and then we'll remove the jars. Remove these one by one. Now, when using these tattlers, you're supposed to remove them from the canner and tighten the lids down. However, if you see one bulging, do not play with it. If I see one bulging, now I've only had it happen once, but I was watching a video on YouTube where a gentleman pulled out a bulging tattler out of the canner and went to tighten it down, and it exploded on him. When the lid is bulging like that, it's not evacuating any of the air and creating a vacuum. It's overfull, and it's not worth it. What I had done with mine was I left it sit just as is, left it, didn't play with it at all. And finally, it cooled down. It's obviously not sealed. It's not safe. It's something that I had to eat right away, but I let it cool down to room temperature and I threw it in the fridge. These tattler lids, I'll tell you what, I am having a real dang of a time. Anyways, I can bring you back in the morning and I will show you how to turn this into hummus, since we're lucky enough to have the hummus ones, because I was kind of hoping these would seal, because I kind of want them for my salads. Yeah, so, okay, I've had enough rambling. I will see you guys in the morning, and I will make some hummus. Bye! We're going to make hummus today. Good morning. It's the next morning. I am here. I have already taken all the pans off and cleaned up all the jars. I recommend using hot soapy water to wipe down your jars after you've canned in them. Whether your water in the canner look dirty or not, it's always helpful to keep the food spillage off. You must remove all your rings from your container, from your cans. If there is a fall seal, it will help mask the fall seal. So that's the reason we take the rings off. And you're also, don't stack your cans unless you have a buffer like a piece of cardboard in between to help distribute the weight. That too can also put pressure on your seals and weaken them, or it can also, depending on how you stack them, help disguise a false seal. You're never supposed to stack more than 2 cans deep. I think I covered some other helpful hints. Editing Angie here. Apparently I managed to delete the rest of my footage. Just saying that if you have anything that you'd like me to try to can and show you, or any cooking projects or anything you'd like me to try, let me know in the comment section down below. Any questions that I might be able to answer for you, also let me know in the comment section down below. I would also like to thank you for tuning in and your continued support. So, yeah. I hope you guys all have a fantastic day, and I hope to see you back in the future.